Hello everyone, this is Deborah. Our father reminded me that I did not finish the story of his visitation with my husband and myself. There is more to the story, and I just really wasn't thinking. But he's reminded me that I have to finish the story. So where I left off was our father was speaking through Karen as she walked through my husband's house, and he was pointing out, actually it was Jesus, he was pointing out things in my husband's house that offended him. If you remember, I was behind Karen and him, and so I wasn't seeing every single thing that was going on. And as we walked down the stairs, I shared that I heard a crash, and I heard Jesus say, "And there is no luck with the Irish." And I found out later that vase was a wedding gift for him and his first wife. Now, it had a good luck poem on the vase. So when I found that out, I just had to chuckle a little bit. So now everything is settled down. Karen had gone home, and I had brought Karen home. And when I came home, my husband still had all the furniture covered, which is what the Lord had told him to do. Cover that table, cover those chairs. And so it was kind of awkward. In fact, it was very awkward because I still had no idea what was going on inside of my husband's head. So he had everything covered that Jesus had told him to cover. And I said to him, and I wasn't thinking very well because it wouldn't have been fair, I said to him, maybe you should call someone to see if they would want this furniture. Well, that wasn't a very good idea, but I wasn't even thinking. And he says, I don't care what you do. Just do what you want to do. So I called a local guy who had a used furniture store. And so he came and he looked at the chairs, 2 chairs. Remember, there was a table between those chairs. And then at the top of the stairs where the landing was, there was a half round table that had, flowers carved into it. So the guy took the covers off of I took the covers off the furniture so that he could see them. And when he looked, he said he was not interested in the furniture. So I took everything and I put it into the guest bedroom. I forgot to put the covers back on. The next morning, this is not a lie, people, I'm not telling a lie. Upon waking, I was being attacked by 2 gargoyles. I couldn't speak. I was frozen in place. I couldn't get up. I was trying to get up to get these things off of me. And my husband had just stepped out of the shower, he had clothes on, so it wasn't that early, but he was in the bathroom, and I finally was able to speak, and I said, Dwayne! And I called out to him, and he could tell in my voice that I was having an issue. And as soon as I called out his name, I was free. I was able to move. And I could see those demons running. They were running away from me. And one of them turned around and looked at me. And you know who he looked like? He looked like that demon on that really popular movie. I can't remember the title of it right this minute. Lord of the Rings. I think it was Lord of the Rings. I don't know, the one that had the little weird gargoyle-looking thing. The one turned around and looked at me, and then they kept running down the hall. Well, I got filled with the Holy Spirit, and I jumped up out of bed, and I chased them all the way out the front door, and I was roaring and getting rid of these things. So now my husband is all upset, and he knew that this was truly from God, but I guess he was just at a loss. He didn't know what to do. So now he was getting ready for work, and he says, just go to your mother's, or go somewhere, or don't stay here. And so, because my mother lived about an hour away from his house. So he left for work. And I said, Father, I am not going to go to my mother's. I said, I'm going to go to the beach house. So I went to the beach house, and I prayed, and I was spending time with the Lord. And I said, Father, what am I supposed to do? Dwayne isn't, cooperating, and I don't know what to do. Am I supposed to go to my home? Well, I drove back to his house because I was determined to find out what was wrong with this furniture. Here comes a car. Hold on, guys. So I drive home, and I go into the bedroom, and I took all those gargoyles were after me. They were able to do that because I had taken the covers off of the furniture as Jesus had instructed. So when I got home, I looked at that furniture, and I said, Father, please show me what is wrong with this furniture. Why does it offend you? And that's when I found the half-round table that was at the top of the stairs. There were dragons, 2 dragons that were wound in and out of the flowers that were carved into the wood, and you never would have known it. You never would have known it. They were so disguised. So then I looked at the chairs, and the chairs, let's see, what was wrong with the chairs? They had gargoyle faces in with the flowers. So now everything was making sense for me. So I took some sticky notes, and I wrote on them, and I said, look at this table. Look at the dragons that are wound in between the flowers. And then I put the chair, I put sticky notes on the chairs, and I said, there's demons in these flowers. So I said, you have to get rid of these. So then I drove back to the beach because I was not going to stay there. And so when he got home and he read my notes and he looked at the furniture, and the carpet was Chinese, I told you. And when you looked at that, you could see there were all these symbolized, these idolatry gods that the Chinese worship. And I told him that too. So he got home, and I was already down at the beach, and he told me that he got rid of everything. Well, I know for a fact that he has not gotten rid of those things. He put them out in his shed. And I want to tell you, the Lord is reminding me of something else that happened. When Karen and Barney came later, after all this had settled down, they came to spend some time. I invited them down to the beach house. And they had 2 daughters. I told you the one couldn't speak. All she did was scream and make noises. So the Lord, when Karen came into the house with Barney and Dwayne was there, Karen whispers to me. She said, there's demons out on the basketball hoop. I said, what? She said, yes, they're all over out there. So her and I got out there, and this is the honest to truth. You can't make this stuff up. as soon as I stepped outside with Karen and we walked away a little bit from the house, the Holy Spirit came upon me, and our Father started talking to me through Karen. And what he did, you guys, was I was standing still, and he made me bend down, bend at the knees, and he took my hands, and I recognized that I was building something, because when I bent down, my hands made these gestures, and I was like building a wall. I was building a wall. I'm not kidding you. And what he would do is I would bend down, and as I was standing up, my hands would be making these gestures, and I could tell that I was building something. And then he had me take 2 steps to the left. I did the exact same thing. You guys, he made me walk around the whole outside of my husband's house and built a wall that those things could not get into his house. Now, you have to realize that he must have really been involved in some evil stuff before I ever met him. And I honestly, really, really believe that it had something to do with that priest that was sexually molesting him as a baby, that the Lord showed me in a dream, only it was more of an experience. It was so real. And his father, by the way, died in his sleep when he was 35 or 36. I know he died young because of what he was doing with his son. That's disgusting. So let me think of what else. Okay, so I don't know if I shared part of this on one of my other videos. So now Karen and I, worked to build this wall as God was giving me instructions. And now Dwayne didn't want to go to the beach house with us, which was obvious. It wound up being very clear why he didn't come, because Father had some work to do when we went down to the beach. Now remember, their little 3-year-old, or I think she was 3, I told you she couldn't speak. All she would do was scream, and you couldn't understand a word she said. So we're down there, and we're having a really nice time, and, I'm putting everything behind me, and I'm like, well, it's in the Lord's hands. There's nothing I can do. So the next thing you know, Father starts talking through Karen to me and Barney, and he said, you must anoint this child. And so he told me, he said, Deborah, go and get some water and bless it. And so I went and got this water, and this little baby, this little 2 or 3-year-old, she was asleep on the sofa. So what happened was the Father gave me instructions. He was telling me to put my hand on the little girl, and he was instructing Barney, the father, to take that water that we had, it might have been oil, that we had prayed over, and to anoint his daughter and to pray for her release. Do you know, guys, the next morning she woke up and she could talk. I am very serious. I am not telling any stories. I mean, I'm telling stories, but these are true stories. So I think that's about all I have left to say. Our Father did separate Dwayne and I for over a year. He gave me a vision of fireballs raining down on my husband's house. I warned him. I told him that I had had 3 dreams that he died. Now 3, I think, is confirmation. I think the number 3, is a serious number. And my husband he just doesn't get it. He just doesn't get it. He's a very nice man. I don't believe he's got any more demons in his house, but we were separated for a year. And our Father, I had to go, my mom was dying, and I had to go down to Maryland to take care of her while she was dying, or I think maybe it was my dad. I had to take care of both of them at two different times. And I had to call Dwayne because Dwayne the reason I even met Dwayne was because I was living with my mother and father out of town, because when I was selling my company, I had to go back to work as a union electrician and get some cash as I was, trying to get rid of everything. So now, excuse me, guys. Bailey gets tangled up. So I called him and asked him if I could stay in his house while I was working. Or no. I had to go. I had to. Oh man, how did it work? Yeah, my mom was sick, and I had to go down there and take care of her. So, her house was worse than my husband's. I don't know what it is with these people. They have so much junk in their house they can't even move. So anyway, I asked him if I could use his guest bedroom, because we had been separated for a year. I thought we were getting divorced. And so I stayed at his house in the guest bedroom. So we're together, you guys, but we're friends. It's like we're married, we never divorced, and we're friends. There's no sexual anything, just to let you know that, our father doesn't change his mind. And if I have this feeling that if I did do something, I would be contaminated. I'm sorry to say it, but that's what I think. So if you guys have any thoughts on the matter, you are welcome to say so. And that's about the end of the story with Karen and Barney. If you can believe it, Karen, I called Karen up one day. I was down. I wasn't in New York, and I was down there helping my mom. And I called Karen, and she sounded so funny. She had gone they started going to a new church, you guys, and she shared with them what the Father and Jesus were doing in our lives, and they told her that it was all demonic. Can you believe that? And she believed them. And I think she believed them because her sister, her and her sister had had issues, and her father and her other sisters. And I believe she chose her family over the truth of what our Father was trying to teach her and what he wanted from her. Because when I called her, she said, that I went to the church and they told me this wasn't God, and she hung up on me, and that's the last I've seen of Karen. Isn't that a shame? So I don't know. I'm hoping that the Lord will get her back together before it's too late. I was shocked. How could you not believe the things that we experienced? When her twin sister got saved, she was living with her parents, and Karen went over there that one night. I told you she went over there and told her she had to get saved and everything. She said her sister was levitating. Her sister was levitating. So, I don't know. It's been a long time. It's been years since I've spoken to her. I know I ran into her. This was funny. I was at JCPenney one night, and I hadn't seen her in months. And I was walking past the window, or the doorway, the big wide doorway in the mall. And I looked in, and she was standing at the cash register cashing out. So I said to myself, I'm going to go over there and say hello to her. And I went over there, and you guys, you wouldn't believe, she was shaking. She was so afraid of me. And this happened another time. Oh yeah, we went to a picnic. Her husband was in the same union I was in, and I went to the picnic. And I ran into Barney, and I was talking to him. And the next thing you know, Karen came up. I don't know, she wanted money from Barney to go play bingo or something. And when she saw me, she was shaking. She has to know that this was God. But, you know, I don't interfere. I'm just waiting and praying on the Lord. I told you how the Lord had me drive all the way to New York from Delaware, which is a 5-hour trip, to go to their baptismal. I don't know why it was so important, but I obeyed, and that's what happened. So I think I'm finished with Barney and Karen. I mean, it's a sad thing. I'm not laughing because it's a sad thing, and I hope that they come to the truth before it's too late. I love you all. I'm sorry if this is like scattered and crazy, but that's the way this is the end of the story. All right. Love you. Bye.